Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, whatever times you're watching me from. My name remains Dr. Sovereign. I'm here again for another episode of our discussion on the topic Misplaced Identity. Like I promised us that I was going to come up with another friend of mine to tell us her view on this particular topic. Please join me this morning, afternoon, whatever time zone you're watching us from, to welcome my very lovely friend and sister, a wonderful colleague of mine, Mrs. Ibora Willie Fred. She's there to tell us her views on misplaced identity.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, my sister and colleague, for this opportunity you've given to us this afternoon for us to discuss about the topic misplaced identity.
Hello, Mrs. Ibora. Thank you for coming live with us today. I want to quickly ask on your view or your perception on the topic misplaced identity. Our last discussion, we extensively discussed on brethren in church, people, and how they were, they should come to terms with that word. On a young lady who has just gotten married, her place in her home have been tagged to be an individual, or she's been tagged to be somebody who has misplaced identity. Misplaced identity, what is your view?
Put through, it all has to do with misplaced identity as regards parenting. And I have really come to understand misplaced identity in a layman's understanding for me as just finding yourself in an unknown world. That's the simple definition of misplaced identity I can give to us this afternoon. And it really has to do with parenting. And parenting is a really Herculean task that every new couple that is going into marriage, you actually know that the fruits of the marriage are children. And we are to raise those children up in the way of the Lord. And then this is where the parenting comes in. Now, the identity of parenting has to do with, the couple having the firmness of commitment to the parenting domain and the degree of the ideas and values and morals that they see as important in bringing up these children. And of course, the Bible says we should bring up children in the way of the Lord. And so parenting is an intentional process that every couple should have it at the back of their minds that this exists. But a young lady that has left the parents' house is full of self-love, have time at your disposal, and you're now joined with someone else, and the fruit of that marriage comes with a bundle of joy, and you're finding yourself in an unknown world, a bundle of joy that needs help from you and your spouse and consumes a lot of your time, and then that child's life revolves around you primarily as a mother. And there's this sense of higher degree of your identity that would seem to disappear. In so many cases, you won't have time for yourself anymore. You won't be able to eat when you want to eat. You will not be able to go out when you want to go out and hang out with friends. You won't be able to sleep when you have to sleep. And you cannot wake up at the time you want to wake up. So you find out that this is a very Herculean task if we do not, as women, get the understanding that there's what we call parenting. And this process of parenting can lead to misplaced identity. Now, in times of pregnancies, the journey from when you conceive to when you give birth to this child, there are going to be body changes. then the time you're weaning the baby, and guiding the child from one stage of life to another, you're actually going to have some changes around you, and you're going to misplace your identities. You can misplace your identity in your time, like I rightly said. Your career could be put on hold, and then you won't have time for the self-love and self-care anymore. You know, you see some mothers carry their hair for as long as, because you know their lives has now had another turn, and their lives revolves around their children and the upkeep of their children, and then making sure that their children are okay. And so these changes that occurs around us, especially during pregnancies and then weaning the child, in our bodies, some of us could get very fat, and then trying to equally lose those fats and get a bit closer to the shape we used to have is something very hard and sometimes very frustrating. And so it could lead to depression. It could lead to mental health issue. Now, as a woman, you will doubt who you are. You will start complaining. You start comparing yourself. Oh, 2 years ago, I was wearing size 10. Now I'm wearing size 12 or 14. I do not like this body I am in. And so it brings some resentment also from the spouses that do not understand that these changes are inevitable. And so with that, you will find that woman will find herself being misplaced. She'll feel, I no more have time for myself. My goals and my visions sometimes do not, are now put on hold for this baby's life to go. But I want you to understand that this is an inevitable journey. Whether you like it or not, it is bound to happen. You will never have a life like you did in your pre-motherhood. That's really okay. But how do you start finding yourself back again? Because your identity is not lost. It's just a phase. So you will find your way through it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ibarra. Really, that was insightful. Yeah, we are told that none of our identities can be tended to be lost. No. Rather, it's just a phase. Whatever phase you pass through, you should be equipped enough to pass through the stages and not for any reason think you have lost your identity. Okay? So, Ms. Ibarra, please, I would like you to please drop with us some tips that can help this kind of women who are having this feeling that their identity has been misplaced. What are those tips you can leave with them in order for them to have this understanding that the identity is not by any means misplaced, but rather there are things they need to do? What would you have to tell us?
Like I already said, we should, have this understanding that it's just a transition from who you used to be to who you are now. That's what motherhood is all about. Transition from the time you were alone, you had all the times in your hands, you were just in total control of your life, to the time that you need to share with one person or set of people, and which has to do with your children and your spouse. And so even though you're feeling that you're not in control of your life, you're still in control of your life to a certain degree of extent. But they're different, they're just different now. That's why I said to a certain degree of extent, because you have your motivations and those spontaneous urges you factor into your decision making are actually going to be changed a bit. And so in parenting, we tend to consider our children's needs equal to or sometimes higher than our needs. But for us to have the soft landing to this Herculean task, in quotes, of parenting, that is taking toll of some mothers, leading to misplaced identity, we can, have some tips or some ways that will be able to bring back our identity. You can find ways to connect with your friends. You can say, instead of regular nights out, we can do monthly book clubs or play dates. You can have a hobby. find a hobby, because in the process of parenting, you can tend to lose your hobby. So you just find a hobby, like for example swimming, and you might find out that in this era of parenting, time is hardly not enough for you to be able to spend on the children and then spend on yourself. But you can make it work. You can make it work. You can find time and make it work by getting a help, or you need to hire somebody that will trade babysitting at that time with you, or you just have to beg a family member or ask a family member that will go with you to maybe play groups that you stay with while the baby stay with somebody that is babysitting him or her at that point in time. And then you're going to be happy and fulfilled. At least you're trying to bring yourself back. You're not lost altogether. And then you will stop comparing, like I used to say. I said earlier on, you have to be contented in this season, because even the Bible says there are times and seasons. And so the season of motherhood, you have to be contented. You don't have to look back and complain and say, I used to have time, I used to hang out, I used to sleep when I want to sleep, I wake up when I want to wake up. Engage in the little things that will motivate yourselves around the house. If your children are grown up, you can get a kind of play and then engage them with. You can do Scrabble with the grown-ups. You do Bible studies with your children, even from toddlers. You get yourself to be bubble to a more well-rounded perspective. You're not going to make it boring. This stage is a season, so you shall not make it boring. So you have to take care of yourself. Very important. You have to go back and define that who you are. Take care of yourself. Try to find time to watch your weight. Find time to eat right. Know what suits you at that season. And know the type of dresses that suits you at that shape you have acquired because of that season. Do not neglect those things that used to bring you pride and pleasure. Enjoy while you're in that season. And then have a personal time.
A me time. I call that a me time.
Yeah, me time. And then, it is not prioritizing self-care is not selfish. It's just an investment in yourself. You use that to motivate yourself to be a well-grounded mother, that you can be balanced and fulfilled while carrying out this task of motherhood. You'll be so happy and glad you did. And you redefine your success after becoming a mom. You don't throw away your careers. You pick them where they were. Try to see how you can move from one step to the other. Don't say because I have a BSc and I have 3 children, then I cannot move forward. I cannot do a certification course. You get something that will be able to grow with your children while your children are growing. And then you're going to have this fulfilling and balanced sense of success that aligns with your authentic self. And the relationship with your spouse should not be lost while you're mothering your children. You're bringing them up while you're caring. We sometimes are lost in the care of our children that we forget our spouses. So you will have to prioritize effective communication. Share your feelings, concerns, and joys. It's important that you make out meaningful time for conversations. Make out time for meaningful conversations and have realistic expectations. Have, your relationship with your spouse. You have a date night that you sit down and talk like you're in the board meeting. You try to review your visions and your
goals as regards the union and the marriage as a whole. And then you understand your role and prioritize that there are changes that has come with parenthood. So you try as much as possible to understand your roles, and your spouse understands his own as well. You set realistic expectations for yourselves and contribute to yourselves. Your spouse will say, okay, in the next 2 years, where would you want us to be, even with the children? You try to factor the children in and be flexible. Don't let your expectations be casted on stones. The ones you had when you were single, you must get all your expectations done, not minding your spouse. So you have to be flexible as well. Spend quality time together, like I said. Even short moments of connections can make a significant difference. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ibarwili, for that short exposition. Women, mommies and daddies, parents, we have been told that our identity cannot be termed misplaced. It's about what you want, how you want to go about it. It's very important. For the mere fact that you've left your parents' homes to go and get married or get yourself in a new environment, don't throw away your visions. Don't throw away your dreams. Whatever your dream was, you can birth it even in this new environment. Distance is not a hindrance, or a new location is not a hindrance. Our identity should not be termed misplaced because we have gotten into a new environment or a new relationship. We can do whatever we had always wanted to do through the help of God. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing time. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.